Hi, how are you? It looks like I have two little, like, those anime little things they have on their cheeks to make them look cute and pink. That's the sunlight, but we'll just pretend that my cheeks are really cute and pink. Anyways, hi. I wanted to make a video on this. I think I'm gonna start a series just because I find it fun to talk about. Sorry, let me try to fix that. I find it fun to try to talk about these topics. I guess fun is a way to describe it. I don't know if that is the best way to describe it. But I have a lot to say. Just because. And so I thought, why not share it with everyone? See if anybody resonates with what I think. In regards to, this is gonna be a series in regards to Black Mirror episodes. I have seen most of them, and I have a lot of thoughts about all of them. And again, these are my own independent thoughts. Like, I don't know if anybody ever will agree or if anybody sees the same things that I do, but I thought, why not? And so today I want to talk about episode 2 of season 1, 15 Million Merits. Only because this was the episode that I watched most recently, and as always, there was so much to unpack from it. So yeah, let's get started. Okay. So in this episode, for a really brief overview of the episode, it's set in a dystopian world, just like pretty much every episode, and it talks about so the main character. Let me look really quick. Bing. His name is Bing, which kind of Bing the search engine, but I don't know. He's the main character. However, as the whole episode begins unfolding, we see that he actually lives in this futuristic sort of world where every inch of his wall of his room is covered in screens, which is very similar to sort of the advertisement we saw for the metaverse. And so it's heavy with all the metaverse symbolism, I guess you can call it. They basically exist in virtual realities throughout the show. And so we find out about Bing, and we find that he lives in this reality where he has to pedal a bike every single day, and through the pedaling of the bike is how he earns money, which they refer to as merits in the show, in this episode. And so every day he works, basically, yeah, day in day out, works in riding the bike, and we only see that he gets a short break to go eat something. However, one of the points that is interesting is that you're supposed to keep biking, I guess, to like pedal the economy, if you will. But once you sort of start lacking a little bit and you start lacking on your food choices, you become overweight. And when you become overweight, you get kicked out of the bike, so you can't even earn money really through the biking system. You're automatically demoted to what they have as janitors. So instead of going to bike every day, you pick up the trash from all the bikers. And not only this, but they take it one step further, and it just shows the hatred really towards obesity, towards anybody who won't what's the word, I figured it out, compliance. So basically it's like punishing those who are not compliant with the system, punishing those who they got too tired to ride a bike every day. And so not only, like I said, do they become janitors, but they get further ridiculed by being in these, like, I guess, shows where, they get made fun of for their weight, and they get to eat more on purpose. And so it's like this downward spiral of anybody who basically decides not to be compliant with the riding of bicycles every single day, day in, day out. So as we keep going in the show, we see that they get to, as they're riding these bikes, which are static, they watch these screens, and they get to watch different shows, like the one that makes fun of the obese people. They get to just watch themselves in a little avatar riding through an artificial virtual reality nature, I guess. And another show that they get to watch is similar to what we have as the singing competition shows. Basically, we get to see that there's actual people who made it out of the bikes, and now are on the big screen, as we say. And this is like, it's, I wanted to talk about these episodes because they are heavily reflective of the world that, and the realities that we're sort of experiencing. Because similar to how those people day in day out watch someone on their big screen as they're sitting on their bikes, is similar to many of us who may be working a 9 to 5, who, you know, may be super stressed with life, you know, with all of our daily routine, our daily lives, and then looking to someone who is like, oh, they made it big on the big screen, right? And similar to the show, we sometimes think, oh, their life is perfect, they made it out, anything is better than this, right? And as we come to find out later through this episode, we see the harsh realities of how much they had to give up to actually be on that big screen. And it sort of dances between the thin line of how much you are willing to give up, how much of yourself are you willing to give up in order to get out of these bikes, to get out of this daily routine, these daily stressful things of life, you know. Because as I mentioned, we look at them and we think, oh, they're doing great, they're doing amazing, they're on the big screen, but we don't often think about all the trauma that comes behind that, the compliance that they also have to comply with, in order to be in those places, in order to be on those big screens. And so, as I mentioned, as we go through this episode, it's I've been talking heavily on compliance because right before what's the main character's name? Excuse me. As you can tell, this is my first video that I'm doing in this format, I guess, which is why I'm a little, you know, rusty, I guess. But the other characters, so we have Bing and we have Abby. Bing discovers Abby, and he discovers her voice, right? And we see that she has actual talent. You know, it's not like she even wanted to audition. It's like she has this inherent talent that Bing realizes the world can use, the world can hear. And he also tells her actually how her voice is like the most real thing he has experienced. I don't know in how long, but it goes back to this whole idea of the whole episode where really nothing is real. Nothing. I mean, they live in these boxes. Yeah, they get to play video games, they get to watch nature, they get to watch all these shows, but they live within a box, within another, like, I don't know, it looks like a huge, it reminds me of Mockingjay, where they lived underground, because you don't see anything. It's just like a big building full of other people and other bikes, and the rooms are just boxes. So again, it just alludes to the idea that it's all virtual reality. There's very little real things, real life experiences that they have. And so that's why Bing encourages Abby to audition for the show, because that is the only realistic thing that he can tangibly feel, listen to. So anyways, she goes and auditions, but as she's going to audition, they feed her with a bottle or a juice of compliance. And so this foreshadows the fact that when she's up there, you know, she had auditioned to sing, but when she's up there, she gets they tell her, you can become famous, but not through singing. No. You can become famous through selling your body, basically. And it's like, it's actually so uneasy to watch when I was watching that, just because, again, like I've mentioned throughout this video, it's very there's a lot of reflections from this episode that, like, in one way or another we can see in real life. So watching that on the show and then thinking back to real life, it's really hard to watch because it makes you think. And again, this is my first video. Let me know if you guys resonate with what I'm saying so that I can speak further on these topics. But yeah, it just makes you think sometimes how far people are willing to give up parts of themselves, their values, their the things that make them them, the thing that makes you you, in order for the money. And at the same time, it's a little, it hurts because on the one hand, you know, it's like, how am I gonna judge someone when I don't know what they went through? I don't know how hard their life has been thus far, that they were willing to give something up in order to be in a better spot in life, you know? Like, I can't judge. And it's not even about that. It's about this system, intrinsically, that, you know, where people are set up in these horrible life situations where they have no choice but to, just like Abby, sell their bodies or do any other activity that, although it may not be what they wanted to do, it's gonna get them out of where they were. So again, it's just difficult to watch and difficult to actually think about, being that a lot of these things do exist in our current realities, in our current world. So yeah. And those are like the big things that I want to talk about in this episode. But of course, there's so much to pick and choose from. And of course, we also have to talk about Bing, which it was a very similar, you know, basically like selling out. Very similar to Abby, just differently, of course. You know, we see him after traumatically, you know, after he had to watch Abby on those screens that were not turned off. And so it's like, again, like, you have to participate. Like, they're making you participate. You can't even close your eyes. Like, think about it, you guys. Like, you can't even close your eyes. They can tell when you close your eyes. And so he has this traumatic experience where he has to watch Abby, you know, after she complied and agreed to do what they wanted her to do for the money. And so we see him, and it sort of gives the aura that, like, he's gonna break the system, he's gonna bring the system down. He makes the money to go audition, and when he auditions, he's about to, you know, unalive himself, and he starts ranting, like, and speaking honest truth. That's the most honest thing we hear throughout the whole episode, about, you know, how people, like, they just feed off of this, like, it's all a show. And instead of, you know, perhaps we were expecting for him to break everything, for, I mean, who knows, right? At that point, what could have happened, how much power he held. But at the same time, that power that he could hold was only if people from the audience also kind of joined in, you know, because he's this one person, and everybody in the audience, like, everybody in the rooms is just watching him, just sitting, like, literally like little avatars, just like, yay, or ah, or like, boo. And it's kind of gross to think about it, but in reality, it's similar to now, you know. We're all sitting in our houses, we're all ooh or booing, even though they were there as little avatars. And it's like, you know, the things we watch, it's almost like, again, the difference between knowing the path and walking the path. Because it's like, you can watch all these things, you can see and hear all of it, but if you're just sitting there in the crowd doing nothing but oohing and booing, what are you doing? I don't know. And, you know, going back to Bing, like, he does this and he wants the system to fall, basically, because of what they did to Abby. But the compliance happens again. You know, the judges, they offer him, okay, how about you have your own talk show, your own podcast, as we would right now. How about you have your own podcast? We'll fund it, we'll give you the money, and you will not have to be a slave anymore. You won't have to do the bikes anymore. And it's like, again, like, as much as maybe, I forget, there's another character who watches this unfold, and she kind of has that hope when he's about to unalive himself. But then he complies, you know, and it's like, oh, hold on, sorry, I lost my point there. But yeah, just this idea that like he also complies instead of like bringing down the system. And at the same time, again, like, it's this thought process, you know, like, where they tell Abby too, like, you really want to go back to the bike? We're giving you this one in a lifetime opportunity to get out, but you're gonna have to sell out, basically. But what's worse, selling out or going back to living like this? And oftentimes, both in real life, just like in the show, you know, that both of them chose to, or maybe choosing is just an illusion. You know, they decided, or again, they sold out, or they were sellouts basically, instead of staying true to themselves. But staying true to themselves would have cost for them to stay in that cycle. So yeah, it's you know, that's why I like reflecting on these episodes, because it's a lot to think about. And at the end of the day, you know, like, Bing had the right mentality, had the, you know, but oh well, I guess. Oh yeah, and the last topic that I wanted to touch on was at the end, when Bing, you know, he finally has this life, the, you know, like the 1% or whatever, where he is on the big screen now. Even nature is just a box. Like, he's still in a box. He does his little videos from within the box. Sorry. He does the videos from within the box, and it's like, there's still nothing real. Nature is just a virtual reality, or like surrounding the walls of his bedroom. And again, it reminds me of the Hunger Games, because in the first movie of the Hunger Games, Katniss, she's locked in this room, and she comes from nature. You know, we see her hunt every single day, but she's in this room now when she's going to the Hunger Games, and she clicks the screen, and it's like the trees and the ambiance, you know, but it's just walls. Like, it's not real. And that's, I don't know, that's like a huge thing about VR. Like, it's like, oh, you're in nature, or you're playing these games and this and that, but it's like, it's not nature, you know. It's like all within this little box, instead of actually experiencing nature. So yeah, that's just another thing that I wanted to touch on. So like I mentioned, this is like my first video on this series, but I definitely want to make this a series, because I love picking and yeah, dissecting these episodes apart, although they can be extremely disturbing. And yeah. If any of you resonate with this, if you guys like are down, like, let me know, so I can continue making videos on these particular topics. But yeah, catch you later.